So before I go on to this, I'm going to just ask some questions of the group, and then I'll start sharing my screen. So just obviously, I just want to make sure that you guys know. Am I already sharing my screen? I'm not. Am I?
No.
Okay. I just want you guys. I want to make sure that you all understand, and I think you do, but I want to just reiterate it. My goal is for all of you to reach your goals. There isn't anybody here that doesn't believe that, right? Shake your head. No, it's okay. Okay. So, because it is the best part of this job. Now, once you start, I loved producing. When I was doing loans, I loved doing loans. I love my customers. I miss talking to them. I still do. I still like, there's times when I look at Giuseppe, Chris, Jack, and their volume. I was like, God, that would be so fun. Because okay, and everybody thinks the grass is green or whatever anybody else is doing. But my goal now, and the charge that I get out of this job is seeing your success. And the story I've told most of you about Chris Hauber's first, I told him he was going to make 100 grand his first, the following year, and his paycheck every month when I would give it to him. And he made $104,000 his first year in sales. And that's the best part of what I get to do. So that's what this is. And I'm sharing it because like all the things that we teach and all the things and as I'm finding out, Chris brought up the perfect loan process. I find out that we're not, I think, as great as I think we are all the time. And we're very good at this and we do really good work. I get frustrated and I get disappointed. And you've read my Friday. I hope you read my Friday focus. You get a sense for where that came from. Today was from just the exercises that we're doing on that perfect loan process work with the teams. But it does just come down to putting processes and systems and everything else in place to create this kind of success that you're looking for. And that's just the best part of this job for me. So I start with that because I want to, this training is about, and really Chris and Curtis and you guys are you're already far past this pace of closing 100 loans a year. But this is still just the basics of selling that I'm going to share with you. And it starts with this. I want to ask all of you, and I want some feedback from people, anybody that would like to answer, is like, when you think of an excellent business, not the mortgage business, any kind of other business that you think of that's an excellent business, that you think is really well run, it's known for its efficiency, it's known for customer service, it's known for all the stuff what sort of business metrics, what do you think some of the business metrics are that they would track and measure consistently? So anybody? Conversions of leads. That's great. What else?
Customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction. Excellent. What else?
I mean, efficiencies. I don't know how you would track that specifically, but somehow.
Okay.
Like, how much time are you spending on something?
I think about like
spending time on.
Think of a grocery store company. Think of a grocery business.
Yeah, like productivity.
So how long is the customer waiting in line? You know what all those television screens are at King Soopers with the 3 bubbles? They look like lottery bubbles somehow. Those are telling them how many people are waiting in line, how many check stands should be open, how many are needed to be open in 10 or 15 minutes, and how many are open now. And so what are they doing? They're tracking and measuring how well they're getting customers out the door. The one thing we all hate if we go to the grocery store, for those of us that still actually go, is waiting in line, waiting too long in line. So just another thing that they're metric. Anything else? Can anybody think of anything else they'd like to share? Okay. Well, nobody said the thing that I was thinking of, which is customer counts, right? Like, how many customers are you getting? Production. Right? What'd you say, Christine?
Production.
Yeah, production, of course. So of course, production. Where I'm going with this is just leads, right? It starts with the leads because at the end of the day, if you don't have business, if you don't have leads coming in, then everything else that we're talking about, all the other things that we're trying to teach you don't work. Now, I'll be the first to admit that when you first start in this business, we ask you to do a lot. I mean, you're learning a lot this first year, those first 50 loans, those first 100 loans, because you're learning how to do 2 things. You're learning how to get loans And that's a big job all by itself. And then you're also learning how to do loans. And you can't learn how to do loans unless you're doing loans. That's the truth. So if it takes you 2 years to do 50 loans, it's going to be a long slog of a process, as opposed to doing 50 loans in your first year and being on pace to do 100 loans at the end of that time. So 2 books that I want to reference is this. This is a great book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. You don't have to run out and go get it. And then this one's called Shift. Both of these books were written by Gary Keller with a couple of other co-authors. And the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I read this book back when it right when it came out. And it must have been the early 2000s. I don't know what the copyright is on this, but 2003. And it was just a phenomenal layout. And it's not mortgage, obviously, it's for real estate agents, but it's just a phenomenal description of all the activities that you have to do to become really good at this. And it's about building teams and everything else. So I would highly recommend the book. It's in the vein of, it's a little more granular than, even a little more granular than Ninja Selling is for real estate agents, I would say. And, but one of the things that both of these books spend a lot of time on is the subject of lead generation, right? So without leads, nothing's going to happen is the point. And so, and so at the end of the day, I think obviously one of the key, what we mostly do in this business is we spend most of our time talking about how much production we're doing, right? Like that's the industry. Everybody's always like, well, how much volume are you doing? How much volume are you doing? How many units did you close last month? Or how many did you close last year? And that's what everybody focuses on. And really that's not a leading indicator of anything, right? That's just the ending indicator. And that's what we focus most of our time on. But the fact of the matter is there's a whole bunch of other activity that leads to that happening. And so you have to, the prospecting, and what I'm talking about simply is the prospecting activity that you have to do to lead up to that business. So, so I know that we all agree, I would hope that we all agree that a very important metric in your business is simply the number of leads that you get in a given time period. We all agree with that, right? Like, that's why I started this towards the end of the year last year, which is like, look, you got to have an awareness, and it needs to be front and center in your mind about what your lead counts are, because if you're not getting any leads, everything else that we talk about is a waste of time, because you don't ever get a chance to put anything into practice, right? You don't get a lead, you can't convert the lead, and you can't talk about lead conversion strategies. And if you don't get a lead, there's nothing like that. We can't talk about using any of the checklists, credit report checklist as an example. Like there's nothing to talk about, right? Income calc, there's nothing to do if you don't get those leads. So I want you all to understand and embrace the ideas like going, yeah, you are in the lead generation business. That's the business that you're in. And if you don't generate leads for your business, you're never going to reach your goals. So as you hear the numbers that some of the bigger producers throw around, 8, 9 leads a month, I want you to understand that that's what you need to be. Everybody needs to aspire to that level. And it's all just a function of activity at the end of the day. It's all just a function of how much activity are you putting in on a daily basis to make that happen. And what we all do, unfortunately, again, we all focus on how many closings. I've shared all of this with you. I'm going to share it again, that we're all working 30, 60, 90 days out. Right? The activity of today produces results 30, 60, 90 days from now, but not this week. So if you don't have any loans this week, if you don't have any loans for January's shot. And in about 10 to 12 more days, maybe 15, if you don't have anything closing, I'm sorry, I said leads. If you don't have any loans closing in January, it's done. By about the 15th of February, if you don't have any loans closing in February, February's done. What you should be focusing on today is how much business can you close in March? It's all a leading indicator. So that's my point, is that how much activity are you going to do now that's going to lead you to the level that you need to get to in March and April and May. That's what you should be focusing on. And too often we're so short-sighted. We're looking for a deal we can do in February right now. Like, I need a deal for February. I need a deal for February. Instead of going, I just need to prospect consistently all the time so that those deals start to flow in. If I could figure out a way to pay you for phone calls and not closings, I would love to do that. I would just pay you $20 a phone call or something Whereas like, dude, I'll just pay you to make the calls and have the conversations. Because the results always come from that activity. The analogy is like, if I was going to pay you, I give you a deck of cards, 52 cards in the deck, and we know there's 4 aces. We just don't know where they are. And if you turn over the first card, this is how a lot of people get into sales, right? They turn over the first card, and they get a 2, and they're like, ah, shit, that sucked. It's a 2. That sucks. I don't know. I don't know if I want to turn over another card. This was so disappointing. And this guy hung up on me and he doesn't want to talk to me. And I didn't get that deal. And they went to another lender. And like, I'm not going to make any more. I don't want to turn any more cards because the disappointment of not getting an ace is too much to bear. And that's what happens to a lot of salespeople sometimes when it comes to their prospecting activity. And it leads to just really poor results. And you can never be emotionally committed to any of these outcomes because it creates anxiety and stress and disappointment, and it leads you to doing things that you don't want to do. Well, you end up doing the things that are easy, which is not prospecting, and avoiding the things that are hard, which is prospecting, in order to get the things that you really want. And again, going back to the fact that I'm here to help you reach your goals. So if you turn over another card, you have a much bigger opportunity to get closer to that ace. We all agree with that, right? So if you get $1,000 for aces, I just figure out what $4,000, if I could get you to turn over 52 cards and I'm willing to pay you $4,000 for the 4 aces, I ought to be willing, I'm just not going to do this, but I ought to be willing to pay you whatever 4,000 divided by 52 cards is for every card you turn over. And if you can think about your business like this, if you can figure out what those metrics are, how many conversations do I have to have? Well, back it up one more. How many phone numbers do I have to dial so that I can talk to the number of people that I want to talk to that's going to lead to the result that I want to get, right? And if you can figure out what that is, then this becomes a little bit easier to manage. You don't have to think about the result anymore. You have to think about the activity. Because like, I just know that if I dial enough numbers, I'm going to have enough conversations. I always like thinking about the movie Pursuit of Happiness, where Will Smith is talking about how he dialed the phone and he would call people and he'd get hung up on. And instead of hanging up the phone, like most people do, and sit back and go, whew, that guy was a dick. I can't believe that. I'm going to get up and go talk to Matt and ask him how that, like, dude, here's what just happened on my last call. Like, what do you think? And I'm going to go get some coffee and I'm going to go to the bathroom. And meanwhile, Will Smith has dialed like 8 other numbers. Right? Like, so that's just this activity mindset that you have to figure out a way to adopt. And what I'm going to show you is not something that you're going to do your entire mortgage selling career. This is really for the launch of your mortgage selling career. And this is like mortgage 101. This is fundamentals of prospecting. And I've just decided, because, you know, we had that tool that a lot of you have used in the past where you're going to send us the spreadsheet every month where you update or every week where you've updated the number of dials and conversations. And that data is, if you're using Salesforce correctly, that data is in Salesforce, so you can easily pull that information up. I want you to see it. The reason that I want you to go through the activity of, or the exercise of writing this information down is because it's what all excellent businesses do. All excellent businesses know their numbers. They know their metrics and they live by them, so that they know they're doing enough activity to achieve the results. If you're not turning over 52 cards, you're not going to find 4 aces. Now, you might find the 4th ace somewhere else besides the last card, and I understand that, but the activity of turning over cards is what's important. It isn't the turning over the aces isn't as important as the activity of turning over the cards. And these disciplines are really important. So I want to make sure that you understand that, and why this is such an important activity. I just have one more story before I'm going to show you my screen. And that's John Wooden used to, the first thing that does everybody know who John Wooden is? Everybody knows? No?
Oh, yeah.
John Wooden was the coach of the UCLA men's basketball team for about 15 years, 15 or 20 years. And everybody thinks, oh man, he was a world champion for 20 years. Like, no, that's not true. He was actually the first 7 or 8 years they were good, but they were never, he didn't cement his reputation in the sports world until a few years later. Like it was like 8 years before they won their first world championship. And then they went on to win, I think 12 in a row. And I'm not sure if that's the right number. and then they missed a year, and then they won another year. He had played with some of the greats. Probably the most famous alumni of that team was Bill Walton, big, tall, redheaded center, played in the pros for years. Anyway, every year on the first practice with the freshmen, every year, and then, you got recruited to UCLA. If you got recruited to UCLA to play basketball for John Wooden, you were the best of the best. You were like, because it was like one of those schools, like it's like being recruited to be quarterback at Alabama. Like it's that good of a school and that good of a program. And he would spend the first 30 minutes at the first year he'd get all the players together, freshmen. He would get all the freshmen together, and he would be like, okay, everybody, take off your shoes and socks, sit on the bench, take off your shoes and socks. And they're like, what are we doing? Take off your shoes. That's John Wooden. You're going to do it. And I'm going to show you how to put your socks on. And he would go through the exercise of putting their socks on to make sure that there was no wrinkles in the socks and that your heel was in the right place. And then he would go through the exercise of showing them how to tie their shoes. And everybody would be like, what are we fucking doing here? Like, why would you do this? Why would you do this basic thing? This is dumb. And he would leave it. He was like, okay, well, practice is over. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And he would walk out of the gym, and everybody be looking at it like going, is this guy crazy? Like, what's he doing? And he would stop and he would turn around and he'd look at it and he goes, I'm showing you this because to be truly great, you have to understand the importance of thorough preparation. And if one of you get a blister in your shoe, if you get a blister on your foot and it's the Final Four championship game and you can't play because you have a blister, we're going to lose the championship. And that's the lesson, is that these fundamentals are fundamentals for a reason. They call them fundamentals because it's fundamental to your success. It's not fundamental to anything else. So that's what I want to show you. And that's what I want to share. So what I've done is, and this goes to, make this a little bigger so that you guys can see it as well as I can. And then I'll be emailing you guys 3 documents. So this is similar to the win by noon concept that you may have heard of if you watch Mortgage Coach, and Todd Bookspan's a good buddy. And we've had Casey Clement was using the win by noon prospecting system and actually productivity system. And that's what I wanted to try to recreate without having you have to pay for a subscription to something. And I like a lot of things that has, but this is a little easier. And right now this is going to just be on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that I'm going to send to all of you. And I'm resisting putting them into a document that is one of these, one of the what did I learn today folder, so that you have a gummies, just so that you have a daily sheet that you can use. And sorry for my camera moving around. So your name goes here, daily elite activities with the day and the date. And I want you to check the box. We've all talked about the importance of doing 25 daily affirmations. And I want you to be able to check the box every day that you did it. This is for you. I'm not going to check this stuff. All right. I mean, I might check this stuff depending on how you're doing, but this is for you to use as the tool that you need to stay productive. And up here, this dials line, this is just where you're going to like using like, a stroke, like how many times you dial the phone, dial 1, 2, 3, 4, put a line through it for your 5th call. And then so that you can total the number of phone calls that you make any day. This simple act, that very first thing, this simple act will help, I hope, help you figure out like, man, I can be a lot more productive and I can make a lot more phone calls, because if you're not doing if you've got 1 or 2 people when you first get going in this business, when you've only got 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people out shopping, and you get to where you have 4 or 5, your goal is to get that up to as many people out shopping as you possibly can. If you're not talking to a bunch of people every single day, you're just wasting time. You're just losing money, right? So I don't know. And it'll be interesting to find out for yourself how many phone calls you have to make on average over a period of time to have meaningful conversations with people about mortgages. Because your goal with the Zenix program and with it's interesting that they both have the same number with the Ninja selling system, is to have 10 meaningful conversations a day with people about mortgages. And it can be a referral partner or it could be a borrower, but it's 10 meaningful conversations a day. And
can I say something, Dave?
Yes.
I think one thing that really helps too, that I do, is I just do a tick mark on each call that you make, and you track your convos, your calls, and your appointments set. And at the end of each phone blitz or whenever you're making your phone calls, you can do your ratio. So out of this amount of phone calls that I made, these ones I had conversations with, and this is how many appointments I set. And if
I
you
have
track
another
that-
sheet for that. I have another sheet for that.
Oh,
Thank you, though. I'll show
I
you.
will revert.
Okay, no, that's okay. So dials at the top and then your total for the day. With whom, this isn't a lot, I didn't, there's not a lot of room to write on this. It's just put in the name, first initial, last name, result, what's next, and is it logged in Salesforce? That's all that is. And I put the logged in Salesforce for a reason. John talks about it, I talk about it. You've got to use that tool, and it's your Bible. It's where everything resides so that you know everything that you need to know about everything that you're doing. And you don't have to remember to do anything because the system will remember for you. If there's a follow-up call, if what's next is you set an appointment, you're going to make sure that you've got that appointment set and it's in Salesforce, right? Like everything needs to be there. So I gave you room for 15 conversations because be a high achiever. You don't have anything else to do if you don't have any business. So talk to 15 people a day when you're just getting going, but at least 10. I got 2 referral partner appointment opportunities. That should be a goal every day. And I conducted 2 referral partner appointments every day, right? Now, when you first get going, you can do that. When you get business rolling and everything else, I recognize that getting 2 appointments and setting 2 appointments is probably not, it's not probably not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic. But as you're launching year 1, the first 6 to 8 months, it is possible if you're hustling, if you're doing what needs to be done. And it all depends on how committed are you to your goal. I'm showing you what you have to do to get to the goal. The difference between the most successful people and the people that aren't successful is that they both hate doing the same thing. The difference is the really successful people do them anyway because they focus on what they're going to get for doing it. They don't focus on what they don't like. And if you can trick your brain into focusing on what you're going to get, you just keep dialing. Some more metrics on here. Did you deliver a TCA? To whom? Did you add anybody to HomePot? Now I realize this says HomeBot ADS. That's one of the reasons you can see this wasn't a plant. I actually already caught this, and so did John as soon as I showed it to him. Thanks, John, for pointing out where my mistakes are. So if you guys find anything else that we're going to change before I get these things gummed up into like a tablet, because you're going to use one of these, you're going to be able to use one of these every single day. At least 5 social network connections every day, because when you first start, that's a great goal. Mailing 2 handwritten notes every day, and who did you mail them to? Excellent goal for the first day. And then leads, credit pulls, pre-approvals, applications, and closings. And if you don't, you're not going to have anything your first day in the business. I get it. It's just activity that this becomes your daily thing. Like, what did you come to work to do today? And so that you can leave at the end of the day knowing I had a good day. Because I made this many phone calls. I had 12 conversations. This is a good, when you start stacking good days on top of good days on top of good days, great things begin to happen in this business because you're just doing the activity. Okay. So at the end of the week, you're going to go to the weekly result page and you're going to plug in the number of phone calls that you made for Monday. So all I want you to do is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday through Friday at the end of the week. You're going to grab your deal, and you can wait till the weekend to do this because I've got all 7 days on here. I don't expect you to be, doing all that stuff, but I know you guys, especially when you first start, you're out meeting people on the weekends, you're hitting open houses, things like that. And those conversations are going to count as well. And so number of dials, number of conversations, what was the number of dials that you wanted to have as a goal? I'm not plugging in a goal here, but the number of conversations, that goal is 50 plus or minus, where are you? Realtor appointment set, that goal is 10 plus or minus, where are you? And then what's the ratio of conversations to realtor appointments, or what's the ratio of dials to appointments? So that's the ratio that I want you to keep track of, is how many conversations to have how many appointments. Because a lot of the conversations that you're going to have with a consumer can lead to a conversation with a real estate agent. Does that make sense? So that's where that can help. And then the number of appointments held. You can come up with your total of TCAs, HomeBots, handwritten notes, and social media connections for the week. And then, and then the same thing, leads, credit pulls, pre-approvals, applications, closings. This is your scoreboard, right? And this is all that matters, right? At the end of the day is like going, okay, because if you're not seeing the leads and the credit pulls and the pre-approvals, we have to see this, right? You have to see this. Am I doing enough activity to produce these results? And that's all this is. This is awareness. Okay. So you're going to have 4 of these, or maybe 4 plus 1, because the way a month rolls, 4 plus a couple, 3 days. And then you're going to plug in your monthly results. So you're only going to have 12 of these for your first year. You're going to see the actual totals for the month and the year up here: dials, conversations, realtor appointments set. These are as many as it takes: 200 conversations, 40 realtor appointments. Ratio. What's the ratio of conversations to realtor appointments set, realtor appointments held, TCAs delivered, home bought, handwritten notes, social media, and then the numbers, the lead. This is everything down here is a result of everything up here. Okay. Leads, credit pulls, pre-approvals, applications, closings. The numbers are the numbers. Where most loan officers screw up is they bullshit themselves all the time with how busy they are, with what they're working on. And so then I have one more thing to show you. And this is going to be for everybody. I'm really glad I'm doing this in January. Sorry, I waited until the last weekend, because the data that you're going to need to see on all of this is going to be it's in Salesforce right now. Whatever the numbers are on that LO Success dashboard, is it the LO Success dashboard? John, what's it called? Is that it?
Yeah.
LO goal tracking.
LO goal tracking. Thank you. So the dials, the conversations, the appointments, the leads, all of that stuff is on there. So you're going to be able to pull all of your January data onto this spreadsheet. Okay. This is for you. This isn't for me, but I'm going to want you to share it, because it's going to have your dials for the month. So if you're looking at this spreadsheet, you've got your dials for the month of January, you got your conversations and the realtor appointment set, and this is going to calculate the ratio. I don't want you to differentiate between real estate agent conversations and borrower conversations. It doesn't matter. Just how many conversations are you having and how many realtor appointments are you setting, right? And then the ratio between appointments and ratios. It can change a little bit, but there's going to be a relationship. Let's just focus on the activity. If we focus on the activity, the results always take care of themselves, but you need to know what the number is. And then we're going to be able to share. When I get this from everybody, we're going to be able to share everybody's performance. And the only reason I want to share everybody's performance is because I want you to, this isn't about competition. I guess it can be. And for most of you, it will be, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it so that you can get a gauge for how you're doing. Like, how am I doing? How is everybody else doing? What kind of results are they getting? And what can I do? Because you all got into this business because you wanted an opportunity to have the ability to write your own paycheck and see how much money you could make. Right. And so that's one of the reasons people get straight commission sales jobs, is because they're like, I don't want somebody else to tell me that's how much, right? I want to be able to be in charge of how much is how much. So realtor appointments set, TCAs delivered. You can see all of this on here. I don't know why my screen, there we go. TCAs delivered, home bought ads, handwritten notes, social media connections, leads, credit pulls, pre-approval applications, closings. And then we're going to plug in the closing volume, purchase, and refi, just so that you can see what those percentages are. Now, Chris Hauber probably jumped off the call, did he? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Yeah, Chris jumped off. We used to have Chris used to do a daily scorecard, and the daily report card, and he would have to send it to me. And maybe you've heard the story where you could grade yourself based on the number of phone calls and conversations that you were having. And he was doing that, and he was giving me his report card every day, and he was getting a C every day. And it was all graded on how many conversations, how many phone calls did you make? And I was like, he's probably told some of you this story. And like for like 8 or 9 days, he would leave his report card with me, and I would be on the phone or something, and I wouldn't talk to him. And after about a week or so, I can't remember how long it was, I walked up to him, because I was paying him, he had a guaranteed salary like some of you do. And I said, how many days in a row do you think you can give me a report card with a C on it before I fire you? I'm just curious. And he's like, and Chris was really intimidated by me back then. And he'd be like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, not very fucking many. I want an A on your report card today. And he goes, well, I don't know. I was like, dude, you are not calling enough people. So that next day, I think he still has this report card somewhere. The next day he called. In fact, I think it might be on a spreadsheet that he just sent me for something else. He made 73 phone calls and talked to 38 people or some shit. I can't remember what it was. And I said, so how long did it take? And he goes, well, I was done by 3. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about, is that, look, we all kid ourselves. We all act like that we have unlimited time for this. And when you get in this business, one of the coolest things about the business is that your time is your own. And one of the most destructive things to your success is that your time is your own and you get to decide how to use it. And when you make a decision that isn't about productivity and activity that leads to the results that you're looking for, you're just cutting yourself off. You're just going to make less money. The fact of the matter is there's going to be over 250,000 loans done in the state of Colorado this year. That's a fact. And I'm not guessing. The year before COVID, there were 264 first mortgage loans closed in the state of Colorado, the year before COVID. Okay. The COVID years, those numbers got blown out because of refinance opportunities. We're still going to have at least 250,000 loans closed. I want you to close 100. Do the math. Divide 100 by 250,000 and tell me what percentage of that business. It's something like 0.004% or something. It's nothing. Those loans are going to be done whether you do them or not, is my point. That's what I love about this business, is there's so much opportunity. The only question is, are you going to put yourself in front of them? These people are going to get mortgages whether you help them or not. It's a fact, right? It's been like this since the beginning of time. So I'm going to email all of this stuff out to everybody. And I want you to embrace it because it's a great tool. It's the kind of tool that you can use to really give you like, okay, I'm going to just do the activity. And you have to trust, I think you all do. You have to trust that I say, if you do what we say, if you do what we coach, it always works if you do the work. But you got to do the work and you got to have the conversations and you got to get the appointments. Once we start seeing, and here's the advantage, like once I start seeing conversations versus referral appointments set, I can start to help you. Okay. But if I don't know how many conversations you're having, like if you're having conversations with realtors and you can't get an appointment, like, okay, we have something to work on, don't we? We have something really specific that we can hone in on. It's like, let me hear the conversations. I want to hear the phone calls between you and the real estate agent so that we can address. Does that make sense? So like, we don't know what to address until we know where there's a balance. And so the last thing I'll share is the story that Mike White, my business coach, and still we hear from him every now and then. He's still a business coach. He's in Florida, great guy. And he helped me so much because when I hired him, he asked me, he's like, well, so what do you need help with? And I was like, oh, I just want to do more business. I want to make a lot more money. I was already running this company, but I was still confused about what my job was back then. Am I a loan officer? Am I a branch manager? Am I a business owner? So I was still like really you wouldn't have liked working with me then. I don't know if you like working with me now, but you wouldn't have liked me then. And he said, well, how many leads are you getting? And I said, good amount. That was my answer. Good amount. I was like, well, what does that mean? And I go, I don't know how many leads. I don't count them. Like I get leads and he goes, well, how much? Okay. So how much business are you closing? I actually didn't know what my monthly volume was. I didn't track it. I wasn't, and this is already, I'd started a company and I didn't track some of those basic metrics. And he's like, dude, I don't know what you need help with. I don't know if you need help getting leads or converting them. So you're going to have to start tracking something. Otherwise, you're wasting your money sending me $500 a month. I think that's what I was paying him at the time. Sending me $500 a month to coach you. I don't know what to coach you on, right? It's the same thing here, guys. I will help you. We can help you. We can find the opportunities in your business and we can help you focus on them, but only if we know what's really what the real activity is. And so you're going to see on the spreadsheet, I have 3 lines at the bottom of this spreadsheet. One of these is a Christine Angeli line, but the accumulation of the little lies that we tell ourselves will always keep us from achieving greatness. That's not a Christine thing, but it's the accumulation of a bunch of little lies that we tell ourselves about how busy we are, about how many conversations we had, about how many realtor appointments we've set, about the number of follow-ups we've done, the number of handwritten notes we've sent, the number of the number of home bot additions, the number of total costs, the accumulation of the little lies that we tell ourselves that will always keep us from achieving our greatness. What I want you to do is adopt a mindset that says, I'm just not going to bullshit myself at all. I'm going to know the real data and I'm going to make change to make the real data happen. The next thing I have in here is said, don't be a dipshit loan officer. Be a professional business person running a professional mortgage practice. It starts with you knowing these numbers that I have on the spreadsheet, right? Because you think about how serious it is to make the kind of income you can make in this business. You want to be a dipshit loan officer and not like, I don't know, I'm doing pretty good. Or do you want to like, I'm running a business? You have that opportunity. And because I totally embrace that stuff. I love this. That's the part about this business that I dig. And then this is the Christine line. You have to know your numbers if you're going to grow your numbers. It's that simple. If you don't know them, you can't grow them. Okay. So I'm going to be saying all of this to you guys. I want you to start using them. I need you to use them I need you to complete the month end version of this for January. I don't need you to go back and recreate everything, but you'll be able to get that month end version off of the LO Success Tracker dashboard. Whatever you have on there is what you have, unless you've been tracking something somewhere else. Let's have some real data that we can use for January and go from there. I know you're not going to know things like handwritten notes probably, unless you're tracking it, which would be awesome. Home bot additions, total cost analysis delivered. It's all just, these are the basic activities. Okay. Any questions? You do love working for me though, don't you? Like secretly you all do. You just haven't want to say it. Is that the deal? All right, everybody. Well, that's it. That's all I got for today. Thank you for your time and attention. And I'll be emailing all of this out to everybody.